my first manager in pro ball in Martinsville, Virginia, was a Dutchman named Heine Manouche. Heine Manouche. Grew up in Sarasota, Florida. He was like a father to me. He took a liking to me in some way, and me 17, just turned 17 years old at that time. Mm-hmm. I needed somebody like him because I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know, for example, I didn't know that I was supposed to be wearing a cup.
Oh.
I never had a cup.
Yeah.
I wore a jock, but I didn't know. And somebody in the dressing room, they said, "Where's your protector?" Mm-hmm. I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Your cup." What? A cup. I wanted to say I drink out of a cup. Yeah. But he told me, in fact, he even got me one. They make them out of hard plastic, yeah, and make it V-shaped, mm-hmm, so that down the bottom and then the top is spread out. And they made them in hard plastic and aluminum, both of them. And I still like the hard plastic because that's what I started out using, mm-hmm, better. Mm-hmm. But I had never heard of Heine Manouche. I didn't read it about baseball record. And we sitting there talking, and I started asking before the ball game, I asked him, "How long did you play ball in the big league?" He said, 17 years. And you were an outfielder, weren't you? I said to him, he said, "Yep, solely an outfielder. I wasn't good enough fielder to play any other position but the outfield." And I said, "What was your batting average?" He said, "Well, in the 17 years, I finished up in some records they put 331 batting average. In some of the records they put 330. So he said I was between 330 and 331 for 17 years. I was thinking, gee, wow. Now, the three guys in the whole league last year, nationally, I think there were three guys hit 300.
Yeah.
Did hit 300. Here he is 17 years. And then one day, he got the bat out and took some batting practice. He was, at that time, I think he was 39. Mm-hmm. And he showed me why. He just is easy, swung that bat just easy. But I could see why he was kind of awkward as far as his legs and so. He couldn't run real good, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But he could hit the baseball.
You really seem to enjoy coaching.
Well, I actually, I knew that when I got out of service, mm-hmm, that my next move that I wanted would be coaching baseball somewhere. Mm-hmm. Well, I knew that also that I'd have to have a college degree. Well, the last year I was there, I got to know his athletic director at a small college that actually almost joined University of Nebraska. This was a Methodist college, mm-hmm, and a guy by the name of Herb Peterson, he's dead now. I took a couple of guys up there, and they enrolled. One of them, the guy that was best man in our wedding, he went there, and the second semester, just playing a half a year, he made all conference. Mm. And he flunked out of Chillicothe College in Missouri before the war. So he wasn't too academically minded, but he was at the same point I was at. He realized that his wife he just got married. And his wife scored the highest on the nurse's test in Missouri that anybody had ever scored to get their license. So she was a smart gal, and she died last year. Mm. She died. And she worked for the state Nurses Association the last 10 or 15 years. Worked for the state, Phyllis?
I think so.
Anyway, her job was attend the legislative session to lobby for the Nurses Association. That was her job. She was the top nurse in the state of Missouri. And her husband, that was the best man at our wedding, he became our best friend. They come down every year. In fact, while we were in college, they were both from Missouri, and they were a couple hours away from where we were in Nebraska. And we had a standing thing all the time we were in college. And every other year, they come up to our place, and during the Easter vacation, we go to their place. And we got snowbound down there. Spent about a week one time. But they became real close to us. So I got to know the South Atlanta director then after he'd recruited 2 or 3 players from out of Fort Riley. Mm. And I was down there right after the baseball season of '52, which was my last year in service. The admissions director came down, looked at the guys. I went up there and then I rode down with him to Fort Riley. And he was going to look at a couple of players that were trying to get some kind of aid too, you know. Mm-hmm. And so after this guy was the athletic director that I got to know real well. Before the players that they were going to look at came in, I was in there talking to him. He said, Ted, why don't you come to school up here and you can take the baseball team. He was coaching basketball and baseball. And every year they were going to, back then there were two tournaments, the NAIA tournament and the NCAA tournament. The small school with the NAIA tournament, and their tournament was in Kansas City. At the basketball arena right downtown, right adjacent to the Mule Block Hotel there. And so he said, why don't you come up and enter it and get your college degree that way? He said, I can't list you in the book as the coach of the baseball team, but you can coach them. You have say-so, but I'll confer with you and everything. You know, and so I said, yeah, sounds pretty good. I said, I'd come one semester and see what happens. And so I got out on January the 9th of 53. January 9th of 53. And I think the semester started the next week. So I went straight from Fort Riley up there and started with the baseball team right there. And so I worked in baseball with it. And then I had a contract with in the Tri-State League at Rock Hill, South Carolina. And about 2 weeks before the season started, I got a letter from the owner, and he said that they had folded and they weren't going to be in baseball that year. And we sold your contract to Lexington, Kentucky. So she told me when to report to Lexington, Kentucky. And so I went and reported. And by the time I reported, I didn't report. I didn't get there. I had to take all my tests in one day and then leave. I did that for 3 years. I went to Lexington, and I was there about 2 or 3 weeks. And they folded. Lexington, Kentucky. Big old KU. They folded up and had the money. So I'm about 2 months away from school starting again. So I said, okay, I came to North Carolina then. Been a couple of 3 weeks to call to that athletic director. And I said, I think you still want me. He said, yeah. He said, how about helping with football too?
Mm.
I said, Pete, I'm not a football coach. He said, you talk to the coach. He gets phoned in. He said, we just let you handle the physical training, exercises for them, everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can do that. I help with football, and then I helped with basketball until baseball started.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for two more years. And here I am without a job, though, for the rest of the summer in the middle. So I happened to think, I met a guy once. His name was George Anderson. He owned the House of David baseball team. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not.
Just from your wife.
It's a traveling baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Globetrotters and them. And I called him up. He had an ad sporting goods too. Maybe if you're interested in playing with the House of David, give me a call, and I called him. He said, yeah. And I said, well, I can't be there. When does the season start? And he told me, the season started about 5 or 6 days before my last class ended.
Mm.
So I told him that I could be there on such and such a date there. And I figured it out that I'd take all my tests and one day we'd go and play that night. They were in Perry, Oklahoma.
Oh.
Perry, that's where, and I played that year with Bobby Self, who's the father of Bill Self, is coaching Kansas basketball team right now.
Okay.
And has been for 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the ball club that year. And they just had a tornado down there 2 or 3 days before I reported. I got to Oklahoma. But we played there. It was not in Perry, but out from Perry. And so I played there. And I kept track of the miles that we traveled. This was the first week in May between then and October the 15th. We went 42,000 miles by every day. And sometimes, several times, we played at 2 different towns, doubleheader.
Oh, yeah.
Play an afternoon game in one place and a night game in the other. See, well, we did some of that. And I know the second year I was with them, we played in Devil's Lake, North Dakota, which is a tourist town up in there, Lake Warhead, Warrod, W-A-R-O-O-D, Warrod. We played there. They had a big celebration. It was a tourist town. They have a whole week of parades and all that stuff. And then right in the middle of the week here, they have a baseball game that starts at noon. And we played at noon, and the park was full. People standing up everywhere, standing on the hill around looking. And there was all the little towns around there and gathered there for the celebration of the 4th of July celebration, say part of the celebration. And so we played there, and our next game was 640 miles from there. It was in, let's see, the town was in Idaho, and the pitcher that we faced was signed with the Orioles the next week. He ran out of the Legion Ball. And he'd signed with Baltimore Orioles. And he was a member of that great pitching staff that Baltimore had Clay All, a left-hander, and Parker, I believe was his name. He was the play-by-play announcer of the Orioles. He still is.
Oh.
Still is. The play-by-play announcer. And this boy, McNally, Dave McNally, was the guy that we played against. And then I would travel 640 miles, and instead of staying in the hotel, we were riding all night. The manager of the ball club just gave us the motel money and bought us supper and said, we're going to play the ball game. We're going to play, beat the tar. I think back in first pitch, McNally threw it. I hit it off the left field wall.
Nice.
I never forget that either because he went to the major leagues in a week and was one of the mainstays of their pitching staff after that.
Yeah.
So I played with House Davidson for 3 years, and it was a way to implement college money. That's what
I see.
I was looking for. 3 to 4 month period in there, which I could make money. I had the GI Bill, and the GI Bill and that, so I was all right. I even sent Phyllis money, didn't I?
Yeah.
What?
That's the only way we could get married.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, so we got engaged that last year.
Did you meet your first year there?
What?
Did you and Phyllis meet when you first got to Nebraska?
Yeah, well, she was part-time stenographer in the athletic office. She was the athletic director's part-time secretary. And so she'd go in every morning to see if she had any work she wanted to do. And I'd come in, follow right after she did. I'd go in, check and see what was going on for the day and what we were planning and everything. So I'd go right through her desk and so forth was in a little cubicle, and she opened the door to go into the athletic director's office, and you went to the next door and went to the athletic director's office. So I'd walk by her desk every time, and she wouldn't speak to me. She wouldn't speak to me. Yeah. So that's how we met, and then we got engaged next year. In fact, that next year we got married. That was and she graduated the next year in the spring, and I still had one course to take because I entered a semester behind her, so I had one more class to take. But I had a job teaching and coach. I wanted to, out of college, see, I'd played pro ball and worked with pro players. I had worked in clinics with college and all age kids, actually. I worked at a camp in baseball school up in the commuter line in New York City. What's the little town, Billy? Pauling, New York. Pauling, New York. Back there, that was right after the guy that ran for the president and Truman beat him. Truman beat him. The Chicago paper had him.
Dewey.
Huh?
Dewey.
Yeah. Anyway, he lived up there. Gene Kennedy Smith lived there. President Kennedy's sister. What was the religious man that, did he live up there? Yeah, the guy that had the house on the point.
Norman Vincent Peale.
Norman Vincent Peale lived up there. In fact, I ran over him. I ran the corner in the grocery store. He come around the corner at the same time. There was a blind. Stuff was packed up so high on the counter on the shelves up there where they had the stuff, cereal they had parked in. I turned the corner, and right after I turned the corner was the frozen food department. And but the two of us met, he had chest to chest. I knocked him out. There was Norman Vincent Field.
That's cool.
So I almost knocked him over back.
What about, I would love to hear the Satchel Paige story.
Well, when I went to Lexington, Kentucky, for that short period before they pulled it out and it broke. Another team, Bluefield, West Virginia, was in the league, and they pulled out. So that left them before Lexington pulled out. They were with the 7 club league, 17. So one team was without a game on.
Okay.
So what they did, they scheduled the Globetrotters, called them Abe Saperstein, you know, on the basketball team, and made it so successful, and still is making money out of it. Globetrotter basketball team. And he put a baseball team on the road with featured Satchel Paige. That was right after he pitched for the Cleveland Indians. At the age of, ages of him, anywhere from 39 to 48. Oh, he didn't know how old he was. You know, so Buck O'Neill told me that he really didn't know how old he was. Buck O'Neill didn't speak highly of Satchel Paige. Paige didn't like him because he wasn't the first chosen. But nobody knew how old he was. But his balls were, he held it, even when they were with that Globetrotter team. He traveled separately. They rest up traveling on a bus, and he traveled in a station wagon. He had a cigar with probably a prostitute traveling with him. And so they scheduled us in that vacant day that they were off, scheduled us against the Globetrotter there. And so first time I've had a kind of bad. And I've seen film of Satchel Paige, and I knew that he had wind up from everywhere, you know. And I remember that he liked to right hand hitter. He had this big wind up here, you know. But when he comes down here, he'd bring it out here to the side if he go throw it to a curveball to a right hand hitter. And I've always wanted a good curveball hitter. It was doing me a favor to throw me a curveball. And I saw that arm start down. And so he broke the curveball though, and I just slid it into center field. Got to first base. And looking over there, looking at him, he started to walk toward first base, with his head kind of down and looked up and said, "You won't get that one no more." I just laughed. After I taught 1 year in Lincoln, and taught at a suburban school out there. And the reason I did stay there and teach 1 year, I wanted to work with high school kids. I had never worked solely with high school kids. And I wanted to test myself, see if that's where I really wanted to work. Because I knew I could get a college job, small college, where I could stay. Well, I was offered the job at Nebraska Wesleyan. But back then, baseball coaches in college, they were just somebody to fill a spot to be crappy, everything they wanted to throw on you. And so I knew I didn't want that the way it was. So I wanted to see what it's like in college. So Phyllis had a brother who was down at the University of Southern Mississippi, and he was teaching there, and had been there for about 3 or 4 years. And so he told me he could give me a teaching fellowship if I wanted to get my master's. I said, well, that's a good chance. I might just do that. Might make connections down there of something I like. So I had met her brother, but just a day or two, a couple of times, and that's all I knew of him, because it was her oldest brother. And so he got this thing lined up for. And we went out and I got my master's in 1 year. I went out and had 2 summers in 1 year and got my master's. And I started applying to places for a job. In this town, an hour from Lincoln, southeast on the Missouri River toward Kansas City, they advertised and they needed a basketball coach. And they needed a girl phys ed teacher. She's a girl phys ed teacher, and I can coach basketball because I had helped the guy in college here. Mm-hmm. And the thing of it is, the superintendent knew her dad, and he knew the athletic director and knew that I'd worked with him. So we had 2 ways, and so he was looking for somebody with that type of background. And so he told us that later. And so in fact, he told me just reason why he hired me. When he called me and asked me if I was interested in it, And I told him, I said, if you're looking for a guy just to win ball games, I said, just leave me out. But I said, if you're looking for somebody that'll teach the kids something, I'd like the job. And he told me later, see, that's the reason I hired you. When you said that, I did it. And so, went there, it takes 31 years. And probably the best 31 years of my life. Because I met my wife, and outside of my mom and dad, she then was the person that I depended upon. And 68 years of it, Phyllis. 68 years.
Yes, sir.
What?
And you aren't dead yet.
No, not even close.
So I went and got my master's and he came back up there to coach. And I applied a 3 places. In fact, there's a doctor that came to us from the University of Nebraska. And he was had a couple of small kids. I'd had them and worked with them in baseball some. Mm-hmm. And he asked me one day, he says, have you ever thought about coaching baseball at the college level? I said, yeah, I've thought about it, but I said, they all, I said, I've had people to call me and offer me a job, but they want be line coaching football, stuff like that. And I said, I want a baseball coaching job, but not coach everything,
Sure.
And so we just quit looking after that. And the pay, every time we check on pay, I was making more where I was at, and I would have had to go. Because I become athletic director. After 5 years, I become athletic director.
Oh, cool.
And then I just headed the whole program.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think I was very successful there, and I can say that we've had probably 35, 40 kids that I talk to them right here, been 2, 3, 4 days with them. And we have gone back there probably 7 or 8 times since we retired 31 years ago. And I can really say that I never hit a kid 31 years. And I never taught a kid that I disliked as a person. I had kids to do things that I didn't like, and I let them know in no uncertain terms. But I never had to, hit them, never had to threaten them. But I had parents, but if a kid got into trouble, they'd call me and I said, well, you want to take care of your way, or you want me to take care of it my way? I had women say, do it. And they didn't know what it was, but they just said, do it. So I had, and I never asked for, as athletic director, I never requisitioned anything that there was any question about. Everything I ever requisitioned in that school, it was approved. I mean, it went right through, just no question, nobody ever asked any question.
Yeah.
And I never had a school board member or an administrator to criticize anything that I did. And I had a good relationship, good working relationship with the people there. And I mean, and we kind of sat down and decided, and we started our family after 2 years, and we just sat down and talked about it, and we both decided pretty much that would be a good place to raise kids. I taught school for 31 years there. And I mean, not that I was against it, of course, it's quite obvious that I wasn't against it, but I never taught a minority in 31 years.
Mm.
We had a minority on the basketball team once, but he came there as a junior, and I did, he came there as a senior. I didn't teach him. And he made All-State, honorable mention on state in basketball. And his mother was whiter than Phyllis is.
Mm.
No one ever saw her dad,
Mm-hmm.
his dad. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he'd ever seen his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he became a close friend of my only son. Fact is, for a while, he'd get my son football tickets at the University of Nebraska when he wanted to go back there.
You're healthy? How do you do that?
Well, I worked my tail off on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
So that kept me for the first 15 years of my life. And then I started playing baseball, so that kept me going. And then ever since I got out of baseball, I've gone into college. I've always got all this equipment to stay in shape. A lot of times I'd work out twice a day. I'd go out and run him. I had one art teacher there that I ran with for 12 years. 2 miles at 6 o'clock every morning. Every morning, every weekday, we ran 2 miles, rain or shine, sleet, snow. We were there. And then on Saturdays, quite often, I'd go out and run up to 6, 7 miles there. So I've worked out. And I go 4 days a week now, work out for about 40 minutes. And I do, I don't work out the way I did back then, of course. I use heavier weights and so forth, but all I use now is what's comfortable for me. What's comfortable. If I'm using the pulleys, I use what's comfortable to me, but I just do a lot of reps. I use 100 repetitions of pulling, put weights on it that's comfortable for me. Another 100 repetitions or more of full bend of the body. Do it backward, forward, and do it on the side. You got weight on the side, put the weight you want to. And do 35, 40 each way. Just the things that cover your entire body that needs work. I'm of the opinion that if you got a car out there and you don't use the parts of it, you don't run it, it won't last very long. And our human body is the same way. We got parts to do certain things, and if we don't do certain things with them, we're not gonna last long.
I agree. What about what you put in your body? Food and what?
Well, a lot of people don't believe this, but the whole Athletic Directors Association at the University of Nebraska, the final, we had a day and night meeting. The night meeting was to give awards and everything, and we met in the daytime in the morning, like 10 o'clock. And a friend of mine that I dried up with to go to the meetings last several years that I was athletic director, that I was there, I mentioned it to him one time. I have never tasted alcoholic beverage in my life, and I haven't. And I had a reason. I mean, I think I can't imagine me ever drinking alcoholic beverage anyway, but I had an uncle, my father's brother. He was in World War One, fought the battle of all the Argonne Forest, lost a leg. Came home, became an alcoholic. He was a good guy, and I liked him. And here I am. When he comes back from the war, he was 20, I was 7 years old. So that's when the first time I saw him. I might have seen him before and don't even remember it. I was so young. But that's when he came back from World War One. And that was on my father's side. On my mother's side, her brother, one of her brothers, became an alcoholic. His son, who was one of the best guys I've ever met, became an alcoholic. And I think even now that it's the biggest major problem we've got in this country is alcoholism, because we glorify it. And I think I get a pretty well balanced meal every day. I don't crave any particular food that's life-threatening or anything.
Sure.
And I tell you, I had never in my life gone to a heart specialist because I never had any problem. And I mean, if it's not hurting, don't take any medicine. Nothing wrong with me, don't take medicine. I don't take medicine now. And I've never had a problem with anything except the legs, and I know.
Yeah.
I didn't tell the doctor that I'd caught 15 years of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that way my neuropathy is, it's just from my high shin down through my toe. And you take that position, sitting your butt on your heel, close to about 100 times a ball game. Because your pitcher will throw, even if he one pitcher pitch, he throw 100 pitches, plus you get 7 or 8 pitches, depending on the league. Between innings, you catch those, and you get it up around 200 times a night. You do that for 15 years. It's bound to do something to your nerves in there. And I didn't tell him. I wanted him to tell me what was wrong, what caused it. I want to know if there's something that I could stop it. And I went to a guy in Whitehall. He checked me out. He sent me to a guy in Wilmington. And there was 2 young doctors there. And he says, it could be that down your lower spinal, in that laminar canal down there, he said there could be some burrs in there that are activated and they're striking the nerve there, and then taking away your censorship, the ability of you to transfer from your nerve to your brain. And he says, I can go in there and see. I said, when can you do it? He said, oh, so I went down to get my pre-op ready. Yeah, this gal that was, she was getting her degree in, and working under him while she was getting her degree. And she was the one that took the pictures and everything for the operation. And I've never been on one of those, that big thing you get in like a seat in an airplane or something. They can turn it, any plane upside down, sideways. They just turn it off. And she's taking pictures of that all the time. On my rear end, leg. She got through with it. I said, I don't know. I said, but I do know one thing. She said, what's that? I said, you might not find out what's wrong with my legs, but you sure the devil know what my butt looks like. Yeah. And my back has been great since then. So
Yeah.
he said, we went in there and we shaved off the little burrs that you had on the bottom column.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, in playing golf, I played 36 holes in a day. A little iffy, you know, on my back is ever sore or something. But since then, nothing on my back. We talked to a friend of ours, Pat Ray, who's a nurse in Whitehall. I had known her husband for years, and we saw her a day or two after we got here. And she said, well, I know somebody's got a house for sale down there. Who is it? She told us who it was. And so we went over that night and met with her and her mother. She was getting a divorce. And we asked her what she wanted for it. Well, it's $26,000.
I thought it was 28. 28.
Was it 28? Anyhow, we bought a house and lot for $28,000. And then when we retired we retired 3 years later.
I don't remember.
Yeah, 3 years later. And we kept riding by this house here, and it looked like it was going downhill. Nobody taking care of it. Weeds were growing all around the house. There were 3 motel units in the back, lined up out there. And I knew the girl that had it, and she was a realtor, and I knew her. So we called her, and she came over, and I asked her what they wanted for it. I believe she said $70,000. And so I bought it right then. Well, I say this, is you need somebody to be your partner, and you need someone who will look after you and establish good moral principles, and those will stay with you. My mother and father did not have the education to know about a lot of specific things, but they had a sense of what's right and what's wrong, and I think they started me on the right track there, although I questioned it sometimes, especially with my dad. But as I look back on it, he was really trying to help me. So they established good moral principles, and I had that. And then when I married Phyllis, I married into a Methodist preacher's daughter, and so she was on the right track. And so I give credit to my mom and dad, although they didn't have the money to do a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I knew why. That they just didn't have it. They didn't make the money back then. And I was doing a depression. And then I was lucky enough to run into Phyllis, and she didn't think I was serious about marrying her. I had to sign an affidavit that I would take her to the homecoming dance first year. She was voted homecoming queen the next year after we got married. She's on a married couple. And also, she and I are the only couple that have ever been inducted in the Hall of Fame at Nebraska Western University.